It's 1940. Europe is burning and Britain is cornered by the Nazi Germany. The Allies need a miracle in the skies, fast. Their bombers are falling like leaves in enemy territory, defenseless against waves of German fighters. The solution? A plane that doesn't exist yet. Though, in just 102 days, the P-51 Mustang came into the light. A sleek, untested machine that many thought wouldn't amount to much. And they were right. Early versions struggled at high altitudes. Then came the game changer, a British Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. With this upgrade, the Mustang transformed into a Predator, and this Predator shot down a staggering 9,000-plus aircraft in World War II. This was the beast that could fly farther, higher, and faster than almost anything the Nazis could throw at it. In the heart of World War II, the P-51 Mustang became the ultimate bomber escort. It tore through enemy lines and cleared the skies for Allied bombers to strike deeper into enemy territory. Pilots nicknamed it the Cadillac of the skies, and for good reason. And if you think that's impressive, you'll be amazed by the journey of this fighter jet. So buckle up, because we're about to witness the journey of an icon that won wars and created heroes. But before we do that, hit the subscribe button to stay tuned. Now, let's go back to 1940 again. Britain had the Spitfires, Germans had the Messerschmitts, and Americans were failing miserably to make any impact in the ongoing war. The Allies were getting desperate for a jet that would save them from this global humiliation. What they needed was a fighter aircraft that would take their bombers deep into German territory and inflict damage there. So they turned to North American Aviation, NAA, with an urgent request. Initially, British officials had approached NAA to produce the P-40 Warhawk. It was a competent but aging design. But James H. Kindleberger, president of NAA, had another idea. Why not design something entirely new? He promised the British an advanced fighter and delivered a prototype in just 102 days. This prototype, the NA-73X, was sleek, fast, and equipped with advanced aerodynamic features, including a laminar flow wing for reduced drag. It looked promising on paper, but skeptics doubted its performance. After all, what fighter plane could possibly be developed from scratch in such a short time? In October 1940, no doubts or questions remained as the first prototype took flight. The initial tests were encouraging. It had excellent speed and agility at low altitudes, outperforming many of its contemporaries. The British were impressed and ordered the aircraft, naming it the Mustang Mark I. In late 1941, the P-51 Mustang arrived in the UK. It was still untested and far from perfect. By January 1942, the 1st Squadron of Mustang Mark I joined a No. 26 Squadron of the Royal Air Force. At first, the Mustang struggled. It didn't perform well at high altitudes, so it wasn't used as a fighter. Instead, it took on tactical reconnaissance and ground attack missions. The Mustang flew its first mission on May 10, 1942, over France near Berck-sur-Mer. A few months later, on July 27th, 16 Mustangs flew a long-range reconnaissance mission over Germany. It was risky, but the aircraft proved its potential. On August 19, 1942, during the Dieppe raid on the French coast, the Mustang saw real combat. 4 squadrons, including British and Canadian pilots, provided air cover for the troops on the ground. The plane showed its strength in the heat of battle. However, the shortcomings couldn't be ignored. These versions of the Mustang seriously lacked high-altitude performance. Why? Because they were powered by the Allison V1710 engine. Now, this was a glaring issue, as dogfights and bomber escorts often occurred at altitudes beyond 15,000 feet. The Mustang, though promising, seemed destined to be just another low-altitude fighter. But then a pivotal change occurred. The British knew about the potential of the Mustang's airframe and suggested replacing its Allison engine with the Rolls-Royce Merlin. The Merlin engine, already a proven powerhouse in the Spitfire, could transform the Mustang into something extraordinary. With the Merlin engine installed, the Mustang became a different jet altogether. It could now climb to high altitudes, reach speeds exceeding 440 miles per hour, and maintain its agility. This upgraded version, the P-51 BC, was a revelation. It was fast, reliable, and deadly. American pilots nicknamed it the Cadillac of the skies, as it was smooth, powerful, and precise. By the end of 1943, the P-51 Mustang had arrived in Europe, just in time to change the course of the war. The Allies had been struggling to protect their heavy bombers during raids on German industrial targets. Without fighter escorts, bombers like the B-17 Flying Fortress and B-24 Liberator were sitting ducks, falling prey to waves of Luftwaffe fighters. The Mustang turned the tide. With its extended range and superior performance, it could escort bombers all the way to Berlin and back. This was a game changer. Suddenly, Allied bombers had a guardian in the skies, and it was capable of taking on the Luftwaffe's best and winning at them. This jet quickly became a nightmare for German pilots. It was faster than the Messerschmitt Bf-109 and could outmaneuver the Focke-Wulf FW-190. Armed with 6 50-caliber machine guns, it packed a punch that few could withstand. One of its greatest strengths was its versatility. The Mustang wasn't just an escort fighter, it also excelled in ground attack missions. It was known for strafing German convoys, trains, and airfields with devastating precision. Pilots praised its reliability, speed, and firepower, making it the preferred choice for many aces. Legendary pilots like George Preddy, John C. Meyer, and Chuck Yeager became synonymous with the Mustang. Preddy, flying his P-51 nicknamed Cripes the Mighty, became one of the highest-scoring Mustang aces, while Yeager famously used a Mustang to test his skills before transitioning to jets. One of the P-51's defining moments came during Operation Argument, also known as Big Week, in February 1944. The Allies launched a massive bombing campaign targeting German aircraft production facilities. Mustangs escorted the bombers, engaging Luftwaffe fighters in intense aerial battles. The results were staggering. The Luftwaffe suffered heavy losses, and German aircraft production was severely disrupted. With fewer planes and pilots, Germany's ability to defend its skies began to crumble. The Mustang had proven its worth as the ultimate escort fighter. By July 1944, the threat to Allied bombers was significantly reduced. The RAF, who had once relied on night bombing for protection, returned to daylight missions. The P-51 had made it possible. In fact, Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring, the commander of the Luftwaffe, reportedly said, "When I saw Mustangs over Berlin, I knew the jig was up." Meanwhile, the P-51 Mustang was proving its worth in other ways. In April 1944, Operation Jackpot began, focusing on attacking Luftwaffe airfields. As the Mustang pilots steadily destroyed more planes on the ground, their missions expanded to target trains, railways, and other German transportation lines, crippling the enemy's ability to move troops and supplies. But the Mustang wasn't without challenges. The plane's liquid-cooled engine made it vulnerable to small arms fire during strafing missions. Unlike the P-47 Thunderbolt with its tough air-cooled engine, the Mustang wasn't as resistant to ground fire. But despite the risks, the Mustang's speed and firepower made it an essential tool in the Allies' fight for air supremacy. As the war progressed, the Luftwaffe's response shifted. They began developing aircraft that could challenge the Allies in new ways. One such aircraft was the Me-163, a rocket-powered interceptor. But this plane was far more dangerous to the Germans than the Allies, as it was prone to malfunction and often crashed upon landing. Then came the Me-262, the world's first operational jet fighter. With its incredible speed, it was a serious threat. But, like the Me-163, it had its weaknesses, especially during takeoff and landing, where it was vulnerable to attack. On October 7, 1944, a key moment came when Lieutenant Chuck Yeager of the 357th Fighter Group shot down one of the first Me-262s. He caught it during its landing approach, making history with the first confirmed kill of a jet fighter. The Mustang's effectiveness against the Me-262 was soon proven when Lieutenant Urban L. Drew, on the same day, shot down 2 of the German jets as they took off. As 1945 approached, Mustang pilots would score even more victories. On February 25, 1945, Mustangs from the 55th Fighter Group launched a surprise attack on a German Me-262 squadron just as they were taking off. They destroyed 6 jets in one swoop. Its kill-to-loss ratio was an impressive 11-1. This was a testament to its effectiveness. The influence wasn't limited to just air-to-air combat. It also played a role in combating the V-1 flying bombs launched at London. The P-51 was one of the few planes fast enough to catch and destroy these flying missiles. It worked alongside other Allied fighters like the submarine Spitfire and Hawker Tempest to protect the skies and stop the V-1s before they could cause any more damage. The Mustang story didn't end with World War II. In fact, some would say this is where its true versatility began to shine. When the Korean War erupted in 1950, the Mustang was called back into action. Despite being a propeller-driven aircraft in the jet age, P-51s flew over 60,000 missions during this conflict. Their long range and ability to carry heavy weapons made them perfect for ground attack missions. During the Korean War, Mustangs carried bombs, rockets, and napalm tanks. They supported ground troops by destroying enemy tanks, trucks, and supply lines. Captain James Jabara, who would later become a jet ace, scored his first 2 kills in a Mustang during the Korean conflict. The P-51's reliability proved crucial in Korea's harsh conditions, while early jet fighters struggled with short range and mechanical issues. Mustangs kept flying, mission after mission. They often stayed in the air for hours, providing close air support for UN forces on the ground. Beyond Korea, the Mustangs served in numerous air forces around the world. Israel used them effectively in their 1948 War of Independence. The Dominican Republic kept flying Mustangs until 1984, making them one of the last countries to retire the aircraft from military service. The Philippines, Indonesia, and Cuba all operated P-51s well into the 1960s. During the Chinese Civil War, Chinese nationalist forces used Mustangs against communist forces. Some of these aircraft later fled to Taiwan, where they continued serving into the 1950s. The Chinese Mustangs proved especially effective in ground attack roles and coastal patrol missions. In Central America, the Mustang saw action in several conflicts. During the 1969 football war between El Salvador and Honduras, P-51s from both sides engaged in what would be some of the last prop versus prop dogfights in history. El Salvador's Mustangs proved particularly effective, helping to achieve air superiority during the brief conflict. Even in peacetime, the Mustang found new roles. The US used them for target towing, training, and reconnaissance missions. Many were modified for civilian use, particularly in the emerging field of air racing. At the Reno air races, modified Mustangs regularly reached speeds of over 500 miles per hour, demonstrating the basic design's remarkable potential. Several air forces used Mustangs for training well into the 1960s. The combination of power and maneuverability made them excellent aircraft for teaching advanced flying skills. Some countries used them to help pilots transition from basic trainers to jets. The USAF's Air National Guard continued operating Mustangs until 1957. These aircraft were used for a variety of missions, including coastal patrol and pilot training. It's worth noting that Mustangs remained in reserve service longer than many early jet fighters, testament to their reliability and versatility. Many pilots praised this jet and had mostly good things to say about it. Renowned enemy aircraft flight captain Eric Brown said that the Mustang was the best escort and best American dogfighter. He also added that though he prefers Spitfire, he'd never engage in a dogfight over Dublin in a Spitfire. Even German aces like Kurt Bulligan and Heinz Bahr respected the P-51. While they could outturn it in their Bf-109s and FW-190s, they acknowledged its speed, maneuverability, and difficulty in combat. By the end of the 50s, the Mustang was phased out by most air forces, but it didn't fade into obscurity. Instead, it found a second life in civilian hands. Many ex-military Mustangs were sold to private owners, who turned them into prized possessions for air racing and aerobatic performances. The P-51 became a staple in air shows, with some pilots even pushing it to new limits in high-speed and precision flying competitions. The Mustang also played a unique role in aerial survey work. Its ability to fly at high altitudes and cover long distances made it a useful platform for mapping and photographic reconnaissance. In some cases, P-51s were employed to chart remote areas, contributing to infrastructure development and scientific exploration. One of the most notable aspects of the P-51's civilian role was its participation in air races like the Reno air races. Here, the Mustang's raw power and agility were on full display. as it competed against other legacy aircraft in thrilling high-speed duels. The Mustang dominated the air racing scene for decades, and it remains a fan favorite among aviation enthusiasts to this day. With over 15,000 Mustangs produced, it solidified its place as one of the most successful fighter aircraft of all time. Here's another mind-blowing fact. The P-51 Mustang achieved an air-to-air kill ratio of 19-1 in the European theater. That's the kind of dominance that legends are made of. And did you know, even today, the Mustang holds the title of being the most restored warbird in the world, with 300 of them still flying in private collections and air shows. It's not just a relic, it's a living, breathing piece of history. So that's the story of the P-51 Mustang, a machine that was more than just metal and engineering. It was a game changer, a hero maker, and a testament to human ingenuity in the face of crisis. From escorting bombers over Berlin to dazzling the skies in air races, the Mustang's legacy is etched in aviation history. What do you think of this legend? Let us know in the comments below.